They say the universe began with a bang, an explosion of energy from nothing. But the Bible describes something different, a voice. A voice that didn't just speak words, it created reality itself. Let there be light. But here's the mystery most people don't know. The New Testament later reveals that this voice wasn't just God in some distant throne. It was a person, someone who would one day walk the dusty roads of Galilee, eat with fishermen, and be nailed to a cross. How could a man from Nazareth also be the one who spoke galaxies into being? Why does the Bible hint that the carpenter's son, Jesus, was actually present at the birth of the cosmos? And here's the strangest detail. Genesis uses words that, when translated carefully, suggest something far more mysterious than just making things. It's about function, purpose, destiny. Was Jesus not only creating matter, but also writing the very code of existence? If that's true, then Genesis 1 isn't just an old story, it's a revelation that the entire universe was programmed line by line by the same voice that said, "Blessed are the peacemakers." But what does that really mean? And why have scholars, from ancient rabbis to modern physicists, wrestled with these verses for centuries? The answer lies hidden in the opening words of Genesis and in a single Greek word, logos. In the beginning, three words that every school child can recite, but few stop to ask, what lies behind them? Genesis opens not with chaos and battle, but with a calm voice commanding existence into order. Light, sky, earth, plants, stars, creatures, and finally humankind. Then rest, a rhythm of 7 days, a cosmic symphony. But Genesis 1 did not emerge in isolation. The ancient Near East was overflowing with creation myths, each filled with gods at war. In the Babylonian Enuma Elish, creation begins with bloodshed. The god Marduk slays the sea dragon goddess Tiamat, splitting her body in two. Half became the heavens, half the earth. To the Babylonians, the world was born from violence, rivalry, and fear. The Egyptians told of Ra emerging from the primeval waters, spitting or birthing other gods into being. The Canaanites imagined Baal battling sea serpents of chaos. By contrast, Genesis dares to present something revolutionary. A single God, needing no rival, no bloodshed, no spouse, only words. Let there be, and reality obeys. Order from silence, light from nothingness. A theology of supreme sovereignty set against the violent cosmologies of surrounding empires. And yet, hidden beneath this calm surface, modern biblical scholarship finds mystery. Genesis is not one voice, but many, woven together over centuries. Linguistic clues show different traditions. The priestly style, with its structured days, the Yahwist with its earthier storytelling. Ancient editors layered them into the Pentateuch, giving us a text that looks seamless, but carries echoes of forgotten hands and forgotten ages. Science adds yet another enigma. The Hebrew word tahom, the deep, bears uncanny resemblance to Tiamat, the Babylonian sea goddess. Was Genesis quietly responding to Babylonian myth, stripping chaos of divinity, reducing it to mere waters under God's control? If so, then Genesis is both story and argument, myth and manifesto. And why does this matter today? Because for billions, Genesis is not simply ancient poetry, but the hinge of identity and destiny. When the New Testament declares, "In the beginning was the Word, through him all things were made," it connects Genesis to Christ, a staggering claim. The voice that shattered the silence of pre-existence is not distinct cosmic energy, but a person, Jesus. So what if Genesis is not only a record of beginnings, but also a cryptic code, a dialogue with forgotten myths, a window into cosmic order, and a prophecy pointing to something greater than myth itself? Beneath its familiar lines may lie the oldest and most mysterious truth, that creation did not begin in violence, but in a voice, and that voice may still be speaking. Genesis 1 does not read like a scientific manual. It reads like a liturgy, a chant, a rhythm, again and again, and God said. These are not mere words describing a process. They are speech acts that perform reality itself. The Hebrew verb used here is bara. It's unique. In the Old Testament, it's never used for human craftsmanship. Only God bara, only God creates in this mysterious, divine sense. It's not about shaping wood or carving stone. It's about summoning existence, function, and destiny out of the abyss. The stage opens with a haunting phrase, tohu vabohu. Often translated formless and void, it describes a wasteland of chaos, an untamed emptiness. It is not nothingness, but a raw, unordered potential. And against this backdrop, the voice begins. Day 1, light distinguished from darkness. Day 2, waters divided, sky stretched like a canopy. Day 3, dry land emerges, clothed in green, plants ordered to yield fruit. Each act is not arbitrary, but a response, a precise answer to chaos. Ancient hearers would not have imagined this as mechanical construction, but as cosmic enthronement. God is not just making raw materials, he's installing a system, like a king setting up officials in their proper offices. The sun and moon are not deities to be worshipped, as in Egypt or Babylon, but lights, assigned to govern day and night. The stars are not gods, but markers, timekeepers for seasons and festivals. In this reading, creation is not just about existence, it's about meaning. Modern scholars notice the pattern. The first 3 days give form, the next 3 days fill those forms. Light and dark, then sun and moon. Waters above and below, then fish and birds. Land and vegetation, then animals and humans. The liturgy is symmetry, a grand architecture of order. And here lies the mystery. Is Genesis describing the birth of the physical universe, or is it unveiling something deeper? The assignment of roles, the weaving of destiny, the transformation of chaos into cosmos. For Israel, surrounded by myths of violent gods and chaotic seas, this was radical. The world is not a battlefield of divine rivals. It is a temple, spoken into order by a single sovereign God. And perhaps the most haunting idea is this. The same God who spoke into tohu vabohu, into formless emptiness, is the same God who can speak order into the chaos of human lives. Genesis is not just the story of the beginning, it's the story of every beginning.
Centuries after Genesis was first recited, another voice takes up its opening words, but transforms them. The Gospel of John begins not with creation's poetry, but with a startling reinterpretation. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Through him all things were made. This is not a gentle echo of Genesis. It is a bold claim. The very voice that summoned light from darkness, that ordered chaos into cosmos, is identified with a person, Jesus. John's choice of the term logos is itself mysterious. In Greek philosophy, logos meant more than word. It meant reason, order, the underlying principle that holds the universe together. The Stoics called it the divine rationality that pervades everything. By using logos, John bridges Hebrew theology and Greek philosophy, and then shatters both by insisting this logos is not abstract, it is flesh, it is human. Paul takes the same thread and tightens it into a declaration in Colossians. For in him all things were created. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. Not only is Christ the agent of creation, he is its sustainer. the gravity of existence itself. To Paul, the Genesis creator is not distant, he is embodied. The Word has fingerprints, the cosmic ruler has a face. Why does this matter? Because it answers an ancient existential question: who governs the cosmos? If creation is not just powered by impersonal forces or hostile gods, but by the Word who became flesh, then the authority of Jesus transcends moral teaching or miracle working. He is not simply a prophet, not simply a healer, he is the axis on which the universe turns. And this claim reshapes everything. Worship, because to praise Jesus is to praise the Creator. Salvation, because redemption is woven into creation itself. And the relationship between heaven and earth, because the distance between divine and human has collapsed in the Logos made flesh. In Genesis, the voice speaks light into darkness. In John, that light becomes life for humanity. The mystery is unveiled. The cosmic word is not just spoken. The word has entered history.
To truly understand Genesis, we must step back into the world of its first hearers, a world where words carried weight, where speech was not just sound, but power. Scholar John Walton and others argue that Genesis 1 is not describing the universe as a modern textbook would, but as a temple inauguration. In the ancient Near East, when a temple was dedicated, each part of it was assigned its function: the lamps to shine, the altar to burn, the priests to minister. Only when everything had its role could the deity take up residence. Genesis, in this light, reads the same way. God is not tinkering with matter like an engineer. He is assigning functions, setting order, preparing the cosmos itself as his dwelling place. This transforms the entire narrative. Day by day, speech carves out purpose. Light is not merely energy, it governs day and night. The firmament is not just atmosphere, it separates waters and marks out heaven. The stars are not divine beings, as Babylon believed. They are timekeepers, servants to the rhythms of life. In this temple reading, Genesis is less a laboratory report and more a liturgy, a cosmic dedication ceremony where the world becomes the house of God. The Hebrew verb bara reinforces this mystery. Used only of God, it does not describe hammering, molding, or sculpting. It signals a unique divine act, bringing about being, function, and destiny by sheer command. When Genesis repeats, "And God said," it is not poetry, it is ontology. Speech alters existence. This is the background John invokes when he writes, "In the beginning was the Word. Through him all things were made." To Jewish ears, this was staggering. The same divine speech that gave light its task and stars their paths, John claims that power is embodied in Jesus. The Logos is not just communication, it is creation. It is the voice that makes worlds possible. Comparative study makes the contrast unmistakable. In Babylon's Enu Malish, creation is born out of war. The gods fight, chaos rages, and only when the storm god Marduk slays the sea dragon Tiamat does order begin. Her corpse is split in half, one side stretched into the heavens, the other flattened into the earth. Creation in this vision is nothing more than the residue of divine bloodshed. Genesis offers a radical rejection. Here, there is no corpse, no cosmic battlefield, no pantheon in turmoil. Instead, there is one voice, a single sovereign God who does not struggle, but simply speaks: light, sky, land, stars, life. Creation is not the spoil of violence, but the fruit of command. Boundaries are set, roles are assigned, and a cosmos emerges that is accountable not to rival gods, but to a single moral source. This is not just theology, it is politics. In Babylon, power belongs to whoever conquers. In Genesis, power belongs to the one God who creates without conflict. The very structure of the universe testifies to his sovereignty and his order. And yet beneath the differences lies a shared motif: order out of water. Both Babylon and Israel picture the world beginning in a watery deep, a primordial abyss. But Israel reworks the imagery to declare something astonishing. The waters are not divine. They are not Tiamat. They are not chaos embodied. They are merely the canvas upon which God paints order. Genesis reframes everything. The Creator is morally distinct from creation, ontologically higher than the cosmos itself, and the New Testament pushes the claim further still. John dares to identify that very Creator with the Word made flesh, Jesus. The voice that Babylon thought was born of combat, John declared as sovereign speech, and John revealed as incarnate reality. So the mystery deepens. Ancient myths sought meaning in conflict. Genesis sought meaning in a commanding voice. The New Testament seeks meaning in a person who walked among us. 3 visions of the cosmos, but only one where the Creator does not remain distant, but enters his own creation. If Jesus is the Logos, the Word through whom all things came into being, how do we reconcile that claim with modern science? The Big Bang, cosmic evolution, and billions of years of unfolding matter seem, at first glance, far from a 7-day liturgy. Some will insist on a literalist reading, Genesis as a chronological, physical diary of material origins. Others argue that Genesis is not about particles or planets, but about purpose, meaning, and order. Scholars like John Walton suggest that Genesis answers why the universe exists and how it is functionally arranged, in theological terms, rather than attempting a scientific account. Others maintain that Genesis intends a historical, material story. Both approaches wrestle with the same ancient text, but through different interpretive lenses. Adding another layer of complexity, Genesis didn't reach its final written form overnight. Modern scholarship traces its strands, Jayist, priestly, Elohist, and others, woven together over centuries by editors and communities. Each layer carries its own language, emphasis, and worldview. That means Genesis is at once an ancient theological proclamation, a record of human imagination grappling with existence, and a text shaped by history. Literal readings can miss the depth and nuance of that long process. And then comes the New Testament twist. The Gospel writers read Genesis not as an abstract theological puzzle, but through the lens of Christ. The Word who spoke the cosmos into being becomes flesh, enters history, and grounds God's power in a personal, relational reality. So we arrive at a question that has stirred debate for millennia. Is Jesus literally the Creator, the agent of all material reality, as early Christians proclaimed? Or is this a theological way of expressing God's authority, presence, and purpose in the universe? The texts leave room for multiple honest answers, inviting awe, reflection, and even mystery, a tension that has animated theologians, philosophers, and scientists alike for centuries. We began with a voice, a single command that turned nothing into light, that transformed formlessness into pattern, emptiness into a home. Genesis 1 declares that the cosmos is not accidental. It is willed, structured, and imbued with purpose. The New Testament amplifies this revelation. John and Paul assert that this creative will is not abstract, anonymous, or distant. It is personal, embodied, present in Jesus. Through him, all things were made. In him, all things hold together. The Word that spoke galaxies into being also walks within history, touching human lives, shaping destiny, and sustaining existence itself. This is not merely cosmic trivia, it reshapes how one lives. If the Creator is personal, then creation is no backdrop for random events. It is a stage intentionally prepared. Worship, stewardship, ethical responsibility, and the search for meaning flow from this insight. Whether Genesis is read as theological poetry, temple inauguration, or literal history, its heartbeat is the same. The world carries purpose because it was spoken into being by a voice that loves, orders, and sustains. The question lingers:
Who spoke the universe into being? The ancients answered God. The evangelists answered the Word, the Logos. The early church named that word and saw him walk along the Sea of Galilee. Today, the question is ours, not only to read, but to listen, to the voice that claims authority over stars and souls alike. And what you hear, command, comfort, mystery, will shape the story you tell about the cosmos, about life, and ultimately about yourself.